going on, guys? Thank you so very much for joining me right here on Off the Script. This is your AEW Dynamite review for April 1st, 2020. And I just took a peek at what was going on over on NXT because I was very curious to see what would happen with Keith Lee, Dominik Dijakovic, and Damian Priest for the NXT North American Championship. And lo and behold, I see that Sam Roberts was on commentary for the North American Championship match. My God! Morrow, I hope you are in good health and get back to us as soon as you can. Holy shit. Holy shit. Now you see why Mauro Ranallo is NXT and why we do not need a Brillo head on commentary. Please, for the love of God, please put Triple H back in there. Put Triple H back on commentary. Everybody raved about how great he was on that first empty arena SmackDown show, but yet you give us a uncharismatic WWE shill that has a Brillo for a head. Why isn't he scrubbing dishes? Why is he calling a wrestling match? I don't get it. But I'm not here to talk about NXT. I don't even think I'm going to review NXT again this week. It's all about AEW Dynamite. And tonight we're going to talk about AEW's announcement for a new secondary championship that they aptly named the TNT Championship. I love it. I absolutely love it. A lot of people wanted my opinion on it. We now have a mid-card title. I know Cody doesn't like mid-card or the term mid-card. He likes secondary title. But the brackets for this tournament have been unveiled. We're going to go over it tonight on the podcast, and I'm going to go over exactly how I would book it because I know you're in my boat. I know you're in my camp when you've seen the brackets for this tournament. You've seen the left side, you've seen the right side, and you said to yourself, because I know I said the same thing, why did they make this so predictable? Seriously. Now, AEW, I don't want to believe is that stupid, and they have a nice little ace up their sleeve as far as creative for this tournament. But by the looks of the brackets, you might have seen Cody on one side and then little old Lance Archer on the other side, and you were thinking the same way that I was. Man, that's fucking predictable. Are they really setting this tournament up for Cody and Lance Archer to meet for the TNT Championship in the finals? I hope not. I really hope not. I hope AEW puts a little bit more creative into this tournament, but we're going to go over the rest of the brackets, how I would book it, and what the official statement was for the TNT Championship. And we're going to go over what I thought was a very decent AEW Dynamite tonight from a mystery location, undisclosed location. We're going to go over what I think, or where I think they came from, tonight live on TNT, tonight plus so much more right here on the podcast. Thank you guys so much for joining me as always. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys want to subscribe, I would greatly appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button down below. Turn on that bell for all notifications. If you missed any of my uploads during the week, we got Off the Script this past weekend, episode 319. Absolutely on fire episode, so thank you to everybody that showed up and showed your appreciation for the podcast. A lot of WrestleMania news with the big story, Roman Reigns pulling himself out of the Universal Championship match with Bill Goldberg. That is not taking place. Braun Strowman reportedly is his replacement. What I think about that, how I would have booked it, what I think about Roman Reigns pulling himself out, and why I think it's not just about his health. And a lot of people were wondering, I know it took people by surprise yesterday when I uploaded the beginning of Friday's show, and I uploaded it yesterday on the channel with a different thumbnail. It is a very topical situation, and I wanted to get it out there because a lot of people, A, don't watch the podcast, A lot of people don't watch it, and they might end up clicking on a video that just pertains to that topic. So I took what I thought was an incredible opening segment to the show, uploaded it as its own video, just for those people that might have missed it or it might have not hit your sub boxes. A lot of people do that in the community. A lot of people take, whether it's a 2-hour, 2.5-hour show, or they upload an entire podcast and they take clips from the segments or clips from the show and they upload them as their own individual videos. That's what I wanted to do on Tuesday. So I gave it a little test run. It did fantastic. And I hope that you guys are supportive of that and really go out of your way and support the efforts that I'm trying to do to reach new people here on the channel. So, like I said, it's a very topical situation, and I wanted as many people as I possibly could reach to hear what I had to say on that particular topic. So again, if you missed any of my uploads, links are down below in the description of this very video. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. That is on Twitter and Instagram. Thank you guys so much for live tweeting with me tonight on Dynamite. If you want to support the podcast via Patreon, you can certainly do that as well. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. And I'm going to start pushing my Twitch channel. I've been on Twitch a lot lately, and I want to be on Twitch a lot more. I was actually on Twitch before AEW Dynamite went live on TNT, playing some Doom Eternal. So if you guys are into the video game stuff and you want my take on video games, we got Doom Eternal coming up until I finish it. Resident Evil 3 Remaster or Remake is coming up. Not a remaster, it's a complete remake. That's going to be on Twitch. That's going to be the only place you can see that. And more live stream watch-alongs as well are going to be heading to Twitch. So make sure you follow me on Twitch. Link is down below as well in the description of this very video. And today's podcast is brought to you by my good friends over at Audible. He wasn't doing commentary tonight, but Jim Ross has a new audio book out. It is finally out. Hearing some very good things about it. And for all my AEW fans out there, for everybody listening to the show, you can get Jim Ross's new book, Under the Black Hat, absolutely free. The audio version of the book, absolutely free, when you use our unique link, audibletrial.com/offthescript. It is completely narrated by Jim Ross. You guys can get it for free using our link. Not only that, you're going to get the book for free, but you're going to get 30 days of Audible service also absolutely free. It is a steal. Go and support Audible. And when you support Audible, you support Off the Script. So again, guys, audibletrial.com/offthescript, and go get yourself Jim Ross's new audiobook now on Audible, Under the Black Hat. Dynamite came from a mysterious location tonight. They did not reveal where they were. And as of today, the state of Florida is completely on shutdown. Stay-at-home order went into effect for the entire state, and that includes WWE as well. But as we all know, with Vince and his shit show circus that they got going on this week, WrestleMania is already taped, SmackDown's already taped, NXT is taped for the next couple of weeks, Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania is taped. So they got shows in the can, but after that Raw after Mania, they have nothing. And the rumor is WWE may be going on a little vacation, at least for the entire month of April. So I got to figure out what I'm doing as far as content goes. If I don't have any WWE stuff, we may go back into the time machine and do some old retro reviews just to kind of fill in the blanks in the month of April. But Florida is on lockdown. And WWE is no longer running at the Performance Center. They cannot. So the CDC is actually advising people not to have mass gatherings of 10 people or more. And the social distancing is obviously still in effect. There's a curfew now at 10 p.m. Shit must be closed down. Or 8 p.m. 8 p.m. is the curfew where I am. I don't know where it is with everybody else. 8 p.m., 10 p.m., whatever. Stay-at-home order is in effect. Now, I don't know where they came from tonight. I did some research on this. State of Florida's locked down, and I'm assuming, this is just a logical guess on my behalf. I did do some research. I don't know. I could be wrong. I could be right, but I don't know in the end. They could all be staying at Cody's house for all we know. The show might have actually taken place on Cody's land. He might have a warehouse somewhere. I don't know. But the state of Georgia And in Atlanta, primarily, the essential workers, obviously the supermarkets and the pharmacies and all that stuff, essential workers. If you are an essential worker, you are allowed to work. Everything else that's not an essential business, closed down. In the state of Georgia, in Atlanta, TV and media is listed as an essential business. And they do not have a mandate of 10 or more. Now, it's recommended, but it is 50 people max for mass gatherings in Georgia. So I'm assuming that AEW was in or around the Atlanta area. They had a warehouse, and it's easy to do that when you have those rules being a little bit more lenient. Obviously, TNT's headquarters are in Atlanta. Delta Airlines, their headquarters are in Atlanta, so it's easy to fly talent in and out. Did some research on that as well. And whatever they did, it looked fantastic. They really set it up for a smaller scale show. It was almost as if it was a studio show, but it looked great for what they tried to present tonight, and the lighting was really good. Obviously, it's no Daly's place, but it fit the mold, or it fit the vibe of whatever's going on in the world today. It's got this studio vibe to it. It was set up with an entrance stage, a big screen, some entrance tunnels like we usually see during the regular AEW Dynamite shows, AEW banners. The guardrails had all AEW banners on them. Like I said, the lighting was really nice. It was basically, like I said, studio wrestling. And the roster, which makes me believe that they were in Georgia or Atlanta, the roster, again, was at ringside, separated by 6 feet because that's the minimum distance for social distancing. The roster was out there, baby faces and heels on each side of the ring, and they added a nice little ambiance to the overall show. So I thought it was much better than the last week that they were at Daly's place, even though it still was a good show. I enjoyed this a little bit better because of the interaction between the roster and them giving energy to what we were seeing in the ring. And it definitely had a smaller feel to it, but I don't think that hurt the overall presentation of Dynamite. But whatever they did, it worked. And they might be coming from this mysterious location for the time being until things hopefully get back to normal. I think that they went about not really unveiling the mystery location. Not that Tony Khan or AEW is breaking any rules, because I don't think that they would break rules in a time like this when the government's coming down and shutting things down and stay-at-home orders are going into effect. I don't think that they would blatantly break rules. But it is a thing that a lot of people were, why weren't they giving away the specific location of the show? You don't need to know where the location was. You don't need to know where Dynamite was emanating from, And that's a great way to deter fans from seeking out what's going on and finding them and coming to said building and really, kind of bringing attention to what AEW is doing and really breaking the law. Seriously. They're looking out for you by labeling it a mysterious location. Because if, AEW revealed the name of the location, because I'm sure they're going to be emanating there for next week's show, fans would flock there and wait there, and then you're going to be breaking all sorts of rules. There's going to be fines and arrests and all this stuff. So they're looking out for you clowns. That's why they didn't reveal the mysterious location on Dynamite tonight. So I enjoyed it. I think it looked great, and I can only hope that things get back to normal sooner rather than later. I know we're going to have to probably go through the entire month of April with this stay-at-home shit, so hopefully May looks a little bit better and we hit the peak of what's going on in most of these cities with the virus. Show started off with Kenny Omega and Trent. He was out there with Chucky and Orange Cassidy. This one went 20 minutes, nearly 20 minutes. It was a 20-minute time limit. They went 19 minutes to open Dynamite. Cody Rhodes was on commentary. He said at the end of this, these two put on a main event match that could main event any show anywhere in the world, and that was our opening match for Dynamite. I think he went a little bit overboard with that comment, but my God, did Kenny Omega and Trent Beretta put on a clinic. Trent is so fucking good. He is so good. Kenny, we all know, one of the best, if not the best, in the world. right now in professional wrestling, but this was a great match. Holy shit. The only thing I'm going to sit here and say as far as a criticism about this match really didn't mean anything. It got Trent over because he lasted nearly the time limit with Kenny Omega, but the match itself really didn't mean anything. And if you're going to give me matches like this that don't really have a place in the storylines on TV, if you're just making these nothing matches out of thin air and presenting them on TV just to fill 20 minutes of time between two great wrestlers, I would like AEW to maybe give me a video package on a Kenny Omega. Just briefly go over who he is and, how he won the tag team championships, being that we are in a empty arena for Dynamite, and this match really was just put together just to fill 20 minutes of TV time. Let me know who Kenny Omega is, even though we all know. Someone watching, Joe Schmo, for the first day might not know who Kenny Omega is. Give me a video package on Trent. Give me a reason to care about Trent. Tell me about Trent, why I should care about Trent. If you're going to make these matches out of the blue, give me a reason to care about the performers in the match. That's all I'm asking for. I think that would go a long way on top of this match being a fucking great match to open Dynamite. So we go to commercial break. So right before the commercial break, we had a tornado DDT by Trent Beretta, which looked great. Cody called it the Jerry Lynn special, which I miss Jerry Lynn. I think he was fucking great back in the day. So we had that tornado DDT. Trent gave Kenny a slide under snap suplex that Nakamura's been doing. So Trent took one out of Nakamura's playbook. There we go to commercial break. So after the break, Kenny started to make a comeback. Trent countered with a pile driver. Kenny bounced right off the mat with that one. Scored a near fall, did Trent. Cody called it the first serious pinfall of the match. Cody said they might go 20 minutes and they might go to the time limit. Cody and Shivani wondered where they would put Trent in the rankings if he actually went to a time limit draw with Kenny Omega. I loved the fact that they were making a topical discussion out of Trent possibly going the limit. Where would he fit into the rankings after he went to a time limit draw with Kenny Omega? Would he stay where he is at number 5, I believe he is? Or would he move up a spot? I don't know. So I like that they're making that a big deal. You see what the commentary does there. They're taking that which is important to their storylines week in and week out, and they're applying it to this match between these two guys. I love it. It just makes everything feel that much more important. So Omega came back with his own Snapdragon. Both were slow. They were very tired at this point. We were nearing the end of this thing. Trent elbowed himself out of a suplex attempt by Omega and then landed a hard clothesline. Omega landed a power bomb, and then there was followed up by a quick V-trigger. Again, both were slow to get up, selling the effects of these moves. So we had the 2-minute countdown. We had Dasha Fuentes, a.k.a. Dasha, I believe, what's her name? Dasha Hernandez? Rodriguez? Dasha Rodriguez, I think her name is, in AEW. So we got her doing the commentary. I miss Justin Roberts, even though Dasha is pretty good. We got the 2-minute warning here. Omega climbed to the top rope, but Trent suplexed Omega to the mat. Trent slipped initially, and then he slipped again, doing and executing the move. And it looked like Kenny landed on the side of his fucking head. Aubrey Edwards was the referee for this thing, went right over to Kenny to see if he was okay and went to go check on him. That was scary. So Trent initially slipped up, hopping up onto the second rope, and then he slipped again in the execution of the move. They still were able to pull it off, but man, it was scary. So that was that. Trent hit a running knee for a 2 count. Omega came back with a one-winged angel for the win with 1 minute remaining on the clock. After the match, Omega helped Trent to his feet, and they showed a sign of respect to each other. Very, very good match. Trent, though he lost, he lasted 19 minutes with arguably the greatest wrestler on the face of the earth right now, in Kenny Omega, and he loses nothing here. He does take a loss, but his performance ended up giving him a W just as much as Kenny Omega got the W and the one-winged angel for the win. He looked great. Trent is so good. So, minus that one botch, which I'm not even faulting him for. It's a 20-minute match, you're going to have a slip up here or there. But man, he is so good. Kenny, we know how good he is, but I'd like to see another go around with these two. This was great stuff to open Dynamite. They showed highlights of Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho from last week on Dynamite. I actually have some news on this, and I feel it's topical because I loved the entrance of Matt Hardy inside Daly's place. And I was on here last week with Ticket Drew. Obviously, I'm here by myself this week. And it was one of the first things that I mentioned to start the show. I loved the ending of Dynamite with Hardy and Jericho. I love the fact that AEW had Matt Hardy teleport from the bleachers all the way into the crowd and down by ringside area. I asked myself, how was that done? That looked great as far as Matt Hardy's presentation. So Chris Jericho recently did a Q&A on social media where he spoke about his segment with Matt Hardy from this past week's episode of Dynamite. This saw them have a one-on-one confrontation to close out the show as Hardy teleported towards the ring from the crowd. In the Q&A, Jericho told the story about the segment and the challenges that they had to deal with while filming the segment. He says, and I quote, "If you want a behind-the-scenes tidbit, if you saw the teleportation of Matt Hardy, if you liked it, that's all on me. If you didn't like it, it's still all on me. It was all my idea, and we actually filmed it the night before because we did some taping on Tuesday. They filmed one version of it, and I didn't like it. The way it turned out, it wasn't my vision." Jericho then continued by noting that he thought that they should redo it on Wednesday right before the show started. However, they ran into a problem because Daly's place is an open auditorium. So the sun was out when they were filming, and they had a problem with the sun. The sun had not gone down yet at the time of filming, and there was still light outside peering through the auditorium ceiling. According to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer Radio, Jericho hated the first take. They taped the segment on Tuesday, but Jericho hated it. He absolutely hated it. They were going to retape it on Wednesday, so Meltzer did confirm that. He brought up how Darby Allin and Kip Sabian and their match was pre-recorded, so they had about 15 minutes on the broadcast to do the segment where Hardy appears in different parts of the crowd. When they took the footage to the truck, they noticed that there were some missing pieces, but they realized that they had to do it anyways. The crew got done filming the angle at 8:30 and got into the truck by 8:40, so they got it done at 9 p.m. local time, and then it hit the air at 9:30. Jericho added that if you thought it was off or odd, that's because it was, but he noted that he loved the final product of the segment. He says this, and I quote, "It's obviously probably the only time we get the chance to do that for a while, unless there's another pandemic at some point, which we all hope does not happen." So imagine that, man. They had 15 minutes on the broadcast to do the segment where Hardy appears in different parts of the crowd. They got done filming at 8:30. It was in the truck by 8:40. They got done with the segment, editing it at 9 o'clock, and it hit the air at 9:30. And it still came out that good. It was fucking great. I didn't really notice anything. I just loved Matt Hardy teleporting because it fits his fucking gimmick. And I thought that was a very topical discussion, so I wanted to throw that in there, being that they went over what had happened with Matt Hardy and Chris Jericho here on Dynamite tonight. Hikaru Shida versus Anna Jay with 2 Ys. Anna Jay is a student of the Nightmare Factory and trained by QT Marshall, so she looked pretty good. And my buddy Jesse, hopefully he's feeling well. Shout out to you, brother. Hope you're feeling better. I was texting him during the show, and he said, yeah, and she's better than Eva Marie. Of course she is. Anybody's better than Eva Marie. This fucking plastic bottle of Walmart water is better than Eva Marie. Give me a break. And she's better looking than Eva Marie, too, but don't say anything. But Anna Jay with 2 Ys versus Hikaru Shida, who is my favorite female on the AEW roster. So Shida wins here in 5 minutes. We got a Falcon Arrow for the win. Really nothing major happened in this match to a point where I needed to take notes. I was just enjoying the nice fluidity of the match. There was really no botches. The only thing I could say about this match in particular, and it's a common problem with the women of AEW. There's no intensity behind anything. It's almost as if they are trying to remember what spot's next. They just don't do, you know? But no botches. There was no off moments. Anna Jay, I was watching very closely. Anna Jay was a little weak in some of her offense and in some of her spots, but she never missed a beat. She knew what she was doing. There was no moments of lapse in anything that she did. She wasn't forgetful. There was no communication errors. It was a nice, smooth match. 5 minutes for what it was worth. And Shida got the win because Shida is going to be next in line for the Women's Championship show. She wins with a Falcon Arrow. At the end of the match, Britt Baker, while she was sitting with the rest of the heels outside the ring, she was eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich. And hopefully she washed her hands. I'm assuming she did. She's a dentist, right? So she was eating a Chick-fil-A sandwich, or what I assume was a Chick-fil-A sandwich, because they're doing booming business in the middle of this virus pandemic. And she had some words for Britt Baker. I don't know why, but we may be looking at a Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida match somewhere down the line. A video package aired on Jon Moxley, and this included Jake Hager, Chris Jericho, and Moxley himself. Now, I, for the most part, enjoyed this video package, but there was something in regards to Jake Hager's presentation I did not like here. Now, it looks like Moxley was filmed in Daly's place. It was outside during the day. I'm assuming they filmed that last week. Jericho looked to be in a bar somewhere. I don't know where that was filmed. It might have been Daly's place as well. Might have been on the Jericho cruise. Who knows? It looked very similar to the bar setting that Private Party and Adam Hangman Page were in when Page stole Private Party's Jack and Coke and did not pay them still. And then Jake Hager, it looked like Jake Hager might have been at his home maybe. I don't know. I wasn't really paying attention to the background so much. I was paying attention to the presentation that they gave Jake Hager during this segment. Now, Moxley was wearing sunglasses in the daytime. Jericho was sitting down, obviously, with a cameraman, film crew. He was tilted to the side a little bit with the camera facing him. Jake Hager's presentation was him sitting down like I'm sitting down right now talking to you guys on the podcast tonight. Camera directly facing him, but he was looking over here. Now, I could sit here and look at this angle all podcast, and I'm reading my notes, or I'm reading my notes on my iPad. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. That's exactly what I'm doing. But Hager, I don't know if it was the way he was sitting, or the way it was presented, or the way he was reciting this promo, or reiterating what he wanted to say about Jon Moxley. It looked, and then on top of it, sounded like he was reading off a script, or reading off a teleprompter. It did not look or sound good whatsoever. I understood what he wanted to say, but it did not come across good at all, in my honest opinion. So they need to fix that. Hager did not come off well in presentation on Dynamite tonight in this segment. So, Moxley was shown at Daly's place, like I said. He says he's a miserable, pissed-off bastard. He said he's on top of the hottest wrestling company in the world. Yes, that is very factual information. He's got a target on his back, and he's pissed off because people want to take that away from him, or take what belongs to him away from him, the locker room and the fans, the AEW Championship. He said, what's worse is Hager thinks he can beat him, but that's not going to happen. Then Jericho was shown, like I said, at a bar. He's talking about Jon Moxley. Of course, Jericho would be filmed at a bar. I know I would. Hand me a cold beverage, please. So he was filmed at a bar. He says he's a crazy maverick rebel, which led him down the path to becoming the AEW champion. Bragged that the Inner Circle powerbombed him off the stage through a table a few days after he won the title at Revolution. Hager says he's not in AEW to send fans home happy. Oh, really? Vince McMahon's in the business to not make fans happy at all. So Vince and Hager share a common thing between them. He's there to win and inflict violence on top of Jon Moxley. Moxley says he's traveled the roads and listened to the Jerky Boys for hours on end with Hager and trained in the gym with him, so he knows Hager inside out. The Jerky Boys. That's a throwback, man. Throwback to my childhood. My dad was a huge fan of the Jerky Boys. Sol Rosenberg, Frank Rizzo. You got Frank what's his name? I got it right here. Jack Torse. And then you got my favorite, Tarbash, the Egyptian magician. Love it, man. You also had Frank Kissel. Awesome stuff by the Jerky Boys, man. If you guys want some funny early 90s shit, you got to go listen to the Jerky Boys. Primarily their second album, when CDs were a thing, Jerky Boys 2. Prank calls before they were prank calls. It's just hilarious shit. My dad was a big fan. We listened to it up and down, laughing for hours over the Jerky Boys. Family day on a Saturday in the car with my mom, just fucking rolling her eyes, listening to the Jerky Boys while we're all laughing hysterically at fucking Tarbash, the Egyptian magician. Unbelievable stuff. And they even made a movie. They even made a movie about the Jerky Boys, and a band that I'm incredibly fond of, and another band that I listened to growing up while under the influence of my father, were Collective Soul. And they actually did a Jerky Boys movie with one of their songs, Gel, which is a great song, as the official theme song for that movie. So if you guys want some good laughs, some hysterical laugh shit that you will not ever get away with nowadays, you got to go and listen to the Jerky Boys, man. So Moxley mentioning them just kind of brought me back down memory lane. Jerky Boys is some good shit. So Moxley's got some good taste, as does Jake Hager. He's not scared of him, but he does understand he can strangle him into unconsciousness with his bare hands. Hager smiled as he talked about taking on Moxley. He doesn't have the ruthless aggression that I have. There's that ruthless aggression again. Sammy Guevara touted Hager as they showed a clip of Mike Goldberg announcing Jake Hager in Bellator MMA. Moxley said he sought out Hager first because he knew he was coming for him eventually. He said he knew the Inner Circle wanted the title back and would send Hager after him. Guevara said that they are going to be AEW champions together in the Inner Circle when Hager wins. Jericho says he has a rematch in his back pocket, but he won't use it yet. He wants Hager to beat Moxley up first. Of course, Jericho does. He said the Inner Circle, unlike the Elite, get along. He said if Hager wins, that's great because it'll make two champions in the Inner Circle. Hager says he has to be willing to do anything to win the title. Anything short of everything Moxley has will not be enough, and he will give Moxley everything he has. Moxley said Hager might be a 6'4", living, breathing semi-truck, but he's still a man, and there's a formula to beat him. He said he'll have to find a way. Moxley said he's looking for a fight. So there you go. Outside of the shitty presentation on Jake Hager's segments, I thought this was really good stuff here, and furthered along a interim match before we eventually get Moxley and Jericho again for that rematch that Jericho says he has in his back pocket. Then they announced that Moxley and Hager will be in an empty arena, no holds barred match on AEW Dynamite in 2 weeks. I'm assuming, now I know that they had filmed some stuff at Daly's place. I'm assuming that this will be in Daly's place, and this is already done and filmed, and we will be seeing this in 2 weeks. Of course, it will be an empty arena, because that's what we're doing right now in the United States, but I'm assuming this was already taped and inside Daly's place to be shown at a later date. So we'll see what happens in 2 weeks with Hager and Moxley for the AEW Championship. Lance Archer. We got Lance Archer versus Marko Stunt. Colt Cabana joined Tony Schiavone on commentary. Colt Cabana is in the tournament for the TNT Championship. His opponent, Lance Archer. We got other first-round matches in this thing, and I believe it's Dustin Rhodes versus Kip Sabian. It's going to be Cody versus Shawn Spears, and it's going to be Sammy Guevara versus Darby Allin. That is the tournament. Those are the 4 matches for the tournament. Now, this is a nice segue here, being that we're going to talk about Lance Archer and Marko Stunt in a little bit, to talk about the AEW TNT Championship. It will be determined in this 8-man tournament. On the road to Dynamite, Tony Schiavone, Cody Rhodes announced that AEW will be introducing a new championship, and that is confirmed to be the TNT Championship. It is their version of a secondary title, is their TV title. I love the idea of a TV title, and I love the fact that they did not go the generic route and name it the AEW Television Championship. They're on TNT for the next 5 years. They're not going anywhere. The TNT Championship is their version of the TV title. I think it's great. I hope it looks as good as I expect the title and the competition for the title to be. So I hope to see that beautiful championship in just a couple of weeks. Now, as far as the TV title or the TNT title or what's going to happen with the title on TV, I don't watch a lot of NWA, but I'm kind of in the zone about what they do. They have a title. They have a secondary title over there. And I don't know the name of it, but I do know the premise of the title. I believe with the championship that they have as their secondary title, they have this ruling where champion, as long as he's holding the title, if he has 7 consecutive title defenses. Now, I'm not sure if that means win by DQ, win by countout, or win by any means. I'm not sure. Or if it's something where he can take a loss but still hold the title. If he has 7 title matches where he is still a champion, I don't think that's the case because it really doesn't make much sense. If he has 7 consecutive straight successful title defenses, then he gets a world championship. I want and I hope AEW comes up with something similar or something a little bit more creative on their end to maybe fit to their TV show, where if this champion wins enough matches consecutively that they get an automatic title shot at the AEW World Champion. I think that would be great. I think that would really be good. It would bring importance to the championship, and it would make anybody holding that championship just have this urgency to win because they know that they could get it. It would give them a prize on top of holding the prize. I think it would be great. So I'm loving the fact that they finally have introduced a mid-card championship or a secondary championship. So we got the brackets tonight. I went over the brackets just a little bit ago. And this is the official press release from TNT. AEW announced its first ever TNT Championship, a high-stakes 8-man tournament, which kicks off Wednesday, April 8th, with Cody and Shawn Spears, and then Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara on Dynamite. Single elimination tournament will feature the biggest names in AEW, all vying for the inaugural TNT Championship title. Wrestlers in the first half of the bracket were revealed on Dark, and then the rest of the brackets were revealed tonight on Dynamite. It's been a privilege working with Kevin Riley and TNT to bring fans the best live wrestling show after AEW Dynamite, especially in these tumultuous times, said Tony Khan, president and CEO of AEW. I'm glad we're now able to announce the TNT Championship. The first ever title holder will be determined by an unforgettable tournament that fans will not want to miss, and that's our wrestlers will be desperate to win. And that our wrestlers will be desperate to win. I'm excited for the announcement of the full bracket live on Dynamite this week, and it's only fitting that the champion and the title belt will carry the logo of the globally respected TNT brand, and that they'll represent not only AEW, but also the great quality programming, massive reach, and storied history in the wrestling business that is associated with TNT. I love it. I love the explanation. I love the fact that we are, and they are giving us, we are getting a TNT secondary championship. Now, you looked at the bracket, and you probably wondered to yourself, man, oh man, like I mentioned in the beginning, this looks very, very predictable. It looks like it's being set up as Cody versus Lance Archer for the TNT Championship, and that's the way we're going to get that match. I don't want it. AEW cannot be that silly. They can't. And if they are, I'm going to be disappointed in them. What I would do here for this championship. Obviously, Lance Archer is going to cruise into the finals. There's nobody on that side of the tournament that's going to beat him. You might as well just fucking write him in blood in the finals. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, JD, it's going to be Cody. It's going to be Cody. No, it doesn't have to be Cody. It does not have to be Cody. Darby Allin needs a fucking win badly. Darby Allin needs to win a match There's no better win for Darby Allin than winning his match in the semifinals, which I expect it to be. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Darby and Cody are going to be in the semifinals. Write them in blood, too. I don't give a shit what you do. I don't give a shit what you got planned. I don't give a shit how you get it to me. Darby Allin needs to be in the finals with Lance Archer. Darby Allin needs to defeat Lance Archer. Lance Archer, you know, you look at him and you're probably thinking this guy's going to be undefeated for fucking the entire year, the rest of the year. Doesn't need to be. Doesn't need to be. Because more than likely he's going to end up fighting Cody and he's going to beat Cody. That's the only win that really matters to him right now. You ask for Cody, you're going to get Cody. And Cody's been putting everybody over in his feuds anyway. Because Cody is like Teflon. Nothing hurts Cody. You're going to look at Cody the same way you look at Cody all the time. No matter if he wins or loses. So why not give Darby Allin the TNT Championship? Lance Archer doesn't need it. Cody Rhodes doesn't need it. Why does their feud need it? Why does a Lance Archer and Cody Rhodes feud need a secondary championship? Jake Roberts already explained why Lance Archer's feuding with Cody Rhodes. So why the fuck do you need to add a championship to that? Now, normally I would say the championship is going to enhance the feud. It's not one of those situations to me. Because I'm looking at Darby Allin, who loses more than he wins. And what a moment. Especially if they hold it off until when we get back to normal, hopefully. What if Darby Allin beats Lance Archer on a first show back with a live audience and beats him for the TNT Championship because of Cody Rhodes? Imagine that. Imagine that Darby beats Cody, gets his respect. Darby Allin is in the finals with Lance Archer. You know, you could book it that way, and Cody gets back at Jake for all the shit that he's talking and distracts Lance Archer and helps Darby Allin win the championship. Maybe Lance Archer could fuck Cody out of his match with Darby Allin. Outside interference of some sorts. Cody gets eliminated because of Lance Archer. Cody returns to favor in the finals. Could happen. I don't give a shit how you book it. Cody and Lance Archer in the finals for the title is way too predictable. Predictable does not mean bad, but just looking at that, it's like, Jesus Christ, why didn't you just give them the fucking title, right? Give that feud the title and just call it a day. Why do we need to go through weeks of TV just to see this thing play out? I would rather them not go the formulaic route here, as we've seen on Dynamite. Darby Allin needs to win the championship. That title, a mid-card secondary title, was fucking made for someone like Darby Allin. I'm sorry. That's just the way I feel. Cody and Lance do not need the TNT Championship. So we'll see what happens in the weeks to come. Now, I read a story about Vince McMahon when WWE was on the CW. Now, we have a story here with Vince McMahon and Shane Helms. Hurricane Shane Helms. He was on Twitter, and Shane Helms revealed that he once asked Vince McMahon if he could refer to the Cruiserweight Championship as the CW Championship. You're thinking CW, Cruiserweight Championship. But it's not only the Cruiserweight Championship, but the WWE was actually airing their shows, their program. I believe SmackDown was on the CW. And Shane Helms was like, well, we got the Cruiserweight Championship. Why don't we just name the Cruiserweight Championship the CW Championship? Not only does it fit the name of the division, but we're on the CW, right? Because it was on the CW network. Unsurprisingly, Vince wasn't too fond of the name change and rejected Shane Helms' pitch. However, it seems like Hurricane, as actually, reading this story, he was ahead of the curve. All these years before, he was ahead of the curve now that I read this story. He says this, and I quote, I refer to the Cruiserweight Championship as the CW Championship since we're on the CW network. He looked at me and said, well, why would you do that? And then Shane Helms says, and I replied, I guess I wouldn't. And I walked away. So a lot of people are questioning the TNT Championship. It makes sense. It's different. It fits the network. The network is the home of AEW. Instead of just a formulaic, just boring, stale, throwback to the past. Because everybody's like, well, AEW's borrowing from WCW. Maybe they don't want to borrow from WCW. But there is a love and an appreciation for the old school, and they're naming it the TNT Championship as a way to modernize it, but also live up and honor the fact that it is a TV championship. I like it. I can't wait to see what it looks like. So that's a funny story there, and that's what Tony Khan said about the unveiling of the TNT Championship. Lance Archer versus Marko Stunt. This was 4 minutes. It should have been 4 seconds. Now, I've seen a lot of people bantering back and forth about this being a stupid match, why Lance Archer was put with Marko Stunt, and why did Marko Stunt get offense? How could I believe Marko Stunt getting offense on someone like Lance Archer? I got a couple of different ways to think about this. Number one, yes, I agree with those who said that Lance Archer should have taken no offense from Marko Stunt whatsoever. Marko Stunt should have gotten zero offense in this match. I do not believe anything that Marko Stunt was doing to Lance Archer. But in every instance, Lance Archer was almost welcoming it. Like, he was no-selling everything. He wasn't fazed by Marko Stunt's offense. He was almost allowing it to happen. He was like, it was almost coming off in a way that he was toying with Marko Stunt. Go ahead, do whatever you can to me. Do whatever you can to me. Go ahead. Go ahead, embarrass yourself. I'm going to fucking kill you anyway. Right? I get it. Marko Stunt's offense is not believable against a guy like Lance Archer. Why did it have to be Marko Stunt that he squashed? Who do you want it to be? He's in the tournament. As far as a casual audience, who's Lance Archer? Marko Stunt is one of the primary reasons why AEW wins in their younger demographics. Just a guess, but I'm assuming that is a logical guess. Right? Marko Stunt is very popular with the 18 to 34 demographic, right? You want Lance Archer to beat a pretty popular guy and make his stance on a pretty popular guy. So he beat Marko Stunt, and he's in the tournament. Yes, we know Marko Stunt is a miniature fucking... He's a midget. He's an indie midget, right? So we needed a big win for Lance Archer because he's in the tournament. And Marko Stunt is a pretty decent name on the AEW roster, pretty popular name on the AEW roster, right? They could have went about booking him in a nothing match, but what good would it do? What good would it do? He got his offense in on a pretty popular guy on the AEW roster, and he's in the tournament, and he's going on to dominate the tournament. So what? So what? I don't see a problem with it, you know? The offense, yeah, I get, but it was never in a way where Lance Archer was in immediate danger with the offense. It was almost as if he was fucking being bothered by a pesky gnat on the 4th of July, sitting down at a fucking barbecue somewhere. That's the kind of offense that Marko Stunt got on him. He was toying with him before he squashed him. That's all it was. So I don't know why people need to bicker and banter on something so minuscule. But Lance Archer won, as he should, and he won with the blackout. That was it. 4 minutes, and that was it. After the match, Archer continued to attack Marko. Billy Gunn and Orange Cassidy yelled for him to stop. Archer threw Marko over the ring ropes into the crowd on the babyface side, and they all caught him. Luckily, good use of Marko Stunt, good intensity by Lance Archer. He definitely is going to be a menace on the AEW roster, and I will say this. Lance Archer is greater than Braun Strowman. You watching, Braun? That's what Braun Strowman should be. And that version of Braun Strowman died when he failed to win the WWE Universal and WWE Championship. 3 times. 3 times. Don't think you're getting him back to that situation ever again. Or in that aura ever again. He's dead. No matter what you do with him at this WrestleMania, no matter if you give him the title or not, he's dead. Absolutely dead. This is what Braun Strowman should be. And now AEW has their own version, a better version of Braun Strowman on their roster in Lance Archer. Brodie Lee stood in front of the Dark Order. There was a big TV screen behind him. They were sitting at a table, but he was not eating steak on this week. He introduced himself as Brodie Lee and then said, "These are trying, unprecedented, anxious times. They understand how they feel." Said he was once lost, downtrodden, and beaten down, but now he stands before them as the exalted one. So he told one follower to stand up and call him Mr. Brodie. So this guy stands up. He stands right next to Brodie Lee. And he says, "Yes, sir." Obviously, he didn't follow the orders of Brodie Lee. Brodie Lee looks over at him and says, "It's Mr. fucking Brodie." Obviously, they bleeped out the word fucking, but it's Mr. fucking Brodie. So I'm laughing. I'm laughing at this fucking charade of him being a prick version. Well, Vince McMahon is a prick, but the AEW version, prick, of Vince McMahon. Laughing at this. I love it. I love it. So it's Mr. fucking Brodie. He asked him to reiterate what I told you to say. The guy says, "We are one." So Brodie gets mad and threw a glass, nice glass, against the wall, drinking glass against the wall. He yelled, "It is we are one," he yelled. He told him to please sit down. Brodie asked if there's something going on at home he wants to tell him about. So the reason he asked that was because the second goon, the second Dark Order goon, on top of this other guy that got his name wrong, started yawning at him. There was another guy sitting at the head of the table yawning in the presence of Brodie Lee, Mr. fucking Brodie. So Brodie Lee sits over at him and gets mad and asks this guy if there's anything going on at home that you want to talk about. He said, "Nothing in the world is open, so there's no reason for you to be yawning in my presence. Do you understand what tiredness shows in people? It shows weakness. Are you weak? Right now you look weak to me. I can't have that within these doors. Don't ever yawn in my presence again." And that was the Dark Order. That was the Dark Order segment of the week. So the Vince McMahon isms continue on Dynamite. Obviously, that is a Vince McMahon thing. No sleep, right? Why are you tired? Why are you yawning in my presence, right? Sleep is for the weak. Why are you yawning? There's nothing open. Why are you yawning at me in my presence? So it's another Vince McMahon-ism there by Brodie Lee. And I love the idea of Brodie Lee just reiterating what was done to him, and now he's bringing it on to his servants here in the Dark Order. We are going to see, week in and week out, everything that was done to Brodie Lee by Vince McMahon and WWE management here as the Exalted One. So the Exalted One meaning and the Exalted One character is now coming into play. The Exalted One is nothing more than Brodie Lee's interpretation of what he went through in WWE, and now he's bringing it upon the Dark Order. It is very intriguing. It gives him character. He plays it well. If there's anybody that knows and feels what was brought down upon him in that company, it's him. So I am telling you guys to get ready for some classic, good old-fashioned fucking humor. It might be sad to think about, but he's making it into a joke every week. It's a man that loves the fact that he's now free. Now he can look back at that shit and say, you know what? I'm going to show you guys a fucking lesson. I can't wait to hear the reports that Vince McMahon is again upset, or upper management is upset that Brodie Lee is poking fun at Vince McMahon. Yet this is the guy that, has the balls to bury somebody when they have an expiring contract and treat them like shit and laugh at fucking fart jokes and fucking bring toilet humor to everybody on the roster when he wants to. This guy has no fucking thought about embarrassing anybody. He just does it without a fucking care in the world. Yet this guy is upset that Brodie Lee is poking fun at him. Give me a break. Give me a fucking break. So I like it. I can't wait to see more of it. And we did get to see Brodie Lee. There was a match between Dustin Rhodes and QT Marshall versus the Dark Order. These guys were numbered 8 and 9. Now, clearly, these were two jobber guys. I don't know who they were. I don't even give a shit. Dustin and QT Marshall won here. And as Dustin and Marshall celebrated on the stage after their win, Brodie Lee walked out. Dustin and QT stood their ground as Brandy tried to pull them away. Brodie looked at the Dark Order, got in the ring, powerbombed one of the guys who just lost, and spared the other one. So he powerbombed one as a message to the other one and walked away. So clearly he was upset that his men once again failed. Chris Jericho. The only guy I know who sits in a hot tub with fucking jeans on. I guess that's what happens when you are a multi-millionaire and you live at a palatial estate. In a fucking hot tub with fucking jeans on. No socks or anything. It's just he's in there with his jeans and a bottle of bubbly. So we see Jericho in a hot tub. Jericho was sitting in the hot tub all by himself with a little bit of the bubbly. And he said it's April Fool's Day, and April Fool's is a holiday, and he's never met a bigger group of fools in his life than the Elite. Jericho made fun of Nick Jackson for staying at home with his head injury and his wife who recently gave birth. So congratulations to Nick and the family. He called Cody Tiger King and Cody Exotic. He said he can't believe he hired Matt Hardy. He said the Inner Circle are going to deliver a beating. When this virus is done, everything goes back to normal, and I allow fans back into the AEW arena, you're still going to have to face the Inner Circle at Blood and Guts. So Vanguard 1 is flying around his palatial estate, and he shows up behind Chris Jericho. Jericho stood up out of the hot tub. He was wearing jeans, like I said. So he looked up at the drone and said he knew that Vanguard 1 would come. Said he wanted to apologize to him. He couldn't quite get the word sorry out of his mouth, so he was stuttering a little bit. And he told Vanguard not to be nervous and think about joining the Inner Circle. He presented Vanguard 1 with a toddler-like size Inner Circle shirt, and it was on a hook, and he hooked it onto Vanguard 1. And he said, "You look good. You look good, Vanguard. What do you say? Let's do elbow to propeller and make this a done deal." So Vanguard flew away. Jericho started yelling at him to come back, threw the bottle of bubbly in the air at Vanguard. Fucking champagne goes all over his grass. So then he says and yells, "Release the hounds, Jericho." Jericho says, "Release the hounds," and several dogs bark at him. We got a Chihuahua and 4 or 5 other breeds coming out of Jericho's house. I don't know if this is Jericho's family, if he owns all these dogs. I don't know what's going on, but the hounds are released. Several dogs are barking at the drone as the drone flies away. Jericho says, "That little bastard stole my t-shirt," as Vanguard 1 flies away. This was great. I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking to yourself, well, JD, if this was in WWE, you'd shit all over this. No, I won't. WWE had the opportunity to do something like this and be creative and be funny and really play up the fact that they had Matt Hardy have this entire universe that's really engaging and really fun. They could have done this, but they didn't. They looked at it and scoffed at it, laughed at it, mocked it. "I don't get it," says Vince McMahon. But AEW's getting it, and they're using it to create quality entertainment. I thought this was awesome. Really. I thought this was good stuff. So we got a segment with Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson. They were training, getting back in ring shape, where Matt is helping Nick get back in ring shape. A ring was set up in an outdoor tennis court on what looked to be one of the homes of the Young Bucks. So we've seen clips air of Nick Jackson being taken away in an ambulance. As Matt talked about how scared it made him, Nick said he has no memory of what happened, and that's the scariest part of this entire thing. Nick says he misses the fans. He said it's in their blood. He said this is really something that puts you in perspective about how quickly things can change in our lives. Matt said in a snap of a finger, he almost became a singles wrestler, which I think he would thrive in really, really well. Nick said you don't want an accident to change your perspective in life, but it did. Nick said you only have one life, so live life to your fullest. They started working out. Nick said it felt good. And Matt asked Nick, "Are you ready to come back?" And says, "I'm not ready to come back yet." So Nick Jackson will be back eventually, and he might be the one to potentially make a save of some sorts at Blood and Guts. We'll see what happens, but Nick Jackson, he will be back sooner rather than later. And this is just the story about his ongoing return. Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears in the main event. Sammy Guevara and Shawn Spears versus Cody Rhodes and Darby Allin. This one was really good stuff here. And the story here was the heels getting the win over the babyface team. And this really plays into next week. So we got Darby eventually getting the hot tag. He went to work against Guevara and Spears. Darby moved very quickly using his speed, and he speared Guevara on one side of the ring. He speared Spears on the other side of the ring with tope suicidas. Spears caught him on his suicida and rammed him into the ringside barricade. Guevara leapt off the top turnbuckle with a dropkick that hit Darby at ringside. Darby was draped over the barricade and did a Rob Van Dam missile-like dropkick to Darby, who was laid out, stomach first over the barricade. Cody made the save here, back in the ring. Spears surprised Cody with his C4. Darby, all of a sudden, is climbing one of the fucking poles inside this warehouse, and he's up high, had to be about 20, 25 feet high, does a huge coffin drop on both Guevara and Shawn Spears. Got some chaos in the ring. Darby yanking a chair away from Spears. Spears asked for a chair. Guevara gave Spears the chair. Darby yanked the chair away from Spears. Spears rolled up Darby, who was still the legal man, and hooked the tights for the win. Spears and Guevara win. As Cody helped Darby up, they were all upset that they lost. Darby nailed Cody in the chest and the throat with a forearm, and we had these two baby faces kind of come to blows at the end of Dynamite here, with the heels getting the victory. Now, we got Shawn Spears and Cody Rhodes next week, and Darby Allin versus Sammy Guevara. Clearly, the heels are not winning their matches next week, so they gave you the outcome of the tournament next week right here on Dynamite, with the heels getting their win, because the baby faces are gonna both win their matches next week. So we're looking at Cody and Darby, especially with the angle that happened at the end of the show. They're setting you up for Cody and Darby semi-final rematch. This will be the third time that they're going, I believe, the third time that they're going one-on-one. So we'll see what happens there. I would give it to Darby. I really would give it to Darby. Darby and Lance Archer in the finals. Darby winning the TNT Championship. That's the way I would go about it. So let me know what you guys think about that. But the ending of this match gave the win to the heels, and the babyfaces are going to get their win back next week at the start of the TNT tournament. Guys, thank you so very much for all your supports on the podcast. Let me know what you think about everything that happened down below. Let me know what you think of the title. If you think the TNT title is going to be a good thing for AEW, what do you think of Lance Archer getting his win over Marko Stunt in his debut match? What are you thinking about Brodie Lee and the Vince McMahon isms and his take on a Vince McMahon character leading the Dark Order? And what do you think about the entire tournament itself? Do you think it should be Darby? Do you think it should be Cody? Do you think it's going to be Cody and Lance? Or do you want to see Darby win the entire tournament and AEW go in a unpredictable route and give Darby, probably the biggest babyface on the roster outside Cody, that big win? His big singles win, getting that mid-card title around his waist. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. Guys, I'm getting out of here. If you enjoyed the podcast, hit that thumbs up. Follow me on social media at JDfromNY206. Check out the other content on the channel. Links are down below. Patreon.com/JDfromNY206. Follow me on Twitch for all your gaming content. And audibletrial.com/offthescript. Get your version of Under the Black Hat, narrated by Jim Ross, for free. audibletrial.com/offthescript. Guys, I'm getting out of here, and I'll see you right back here on Friday with episode 320 of OTS for your WrestleMania weekend. Till then, guys, take care. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'll see you right back here on Friday for OTS 320.